Welcome to episode 9 of Stick to Sports. I'm Ben Diamond.
And I'm Brian Burrows. Today we take a look at NFL Week 13, college football, the NBA, and the NHL.
Roll it. The Detroit Lions got off to a hot start in their Sunday matchup against the New Orleans Saints, taking a 21-0 lead in the first quarter and a 24-7 lead at halftime. However, the Saints would not go away, scoring 14 points in the third quarter to the Lions' 3. Ultimately, the Lions would squeeze out a close 33-28 victory on the back of a stellar 9-reception, 140-yard performance from rookie tight end Sam Laporta, who also caught a touchdown. Brian, are you impressed by this win for the Lions, or do you think they let it slip away from them a little bit?
They definitely let it slip away from them a little bit. I'm kind of disappointed in the Lions, the way they've been playing this year. They really had been beating bad teams all year. They had a couple of slip-ups because obviously the Ravens game in there. But for the most part this season, they looked really solid. And, of course, like those bad team wins over bad teams, it looked really good. The fact that Goff only passes for 213, that needs to be higher, especially when their rushing attack only gets 142 yards. They have games where Gibbs and Montgomery go off and Goff's numbers are down. But this game, it was kind of down from both sides of the ball, passing and rushing. The fact that they only had 12 points between the second and fourth quarter, where did that offense go at all? 21 points in the first completely shut down. The Saints obviously made changes, and the Lions obviously couldn't respond to them. I think they just got lucky that Derek Carr got injured, honestly.
I mean, I agree, but then again, Derek Carr didn't look great in this game, so I don't know if his absence might have actually helped the Saints in the long run. But back to the Lions, they have looked really shaky as of late. A lot of too close for comfort wins. They have a chance to lock down the NFC North, but in order to give, I feel like, fans and ourselves here at the desk some confidence in them, they need some convincing wins because they don't play really any great teams for the rest of the season. They need some convincing wins to really show that they can use this offense in the playoffs against good teams.
I agree. Sitting with a record of 5-6, the Green Bay Packers had their biggest test of the season, taking on the 8-3 Kansas City Chiefs. Jordan Love felt he had something to prove in his second career matchup with KC, trying to rewrite the script after his first career NFL start was against the Chiefs 2 seasons ago and didn't go so well. This time around, Love threw for 267 yards and 3 touchdowns as the Packers knocked off the Chiefs 27-19. The Packers have won 4 of their last 5 games and are now the 7th seed in the NFC playoff picture. Ben, can the Packers actually make a deep playoff run this year?
Surprisingly, yes. I think the way Jordan Love is playing, they absolutely have a shot to surprise a ton of fans as the playoffs get closer and closer. Because, I mean, just last night, he diced up a Chiefs secondary that has been the positive for this Chiefs team this season. And that's something really important because that was probably Jordan Love's best game as well. So, first, a playoff team that will be on the AFC side, of course, so they won't face them in the playoffs unless they both make it to the Super Bowl. But, you know, that's a win that they could be excited about, that Packers fans can really say, like, okay, yeah, we beat a playoff team. We can definitely beat other playoff teams. But I do feel like the NFC is a very tough conference, and because of that, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for them to go far, but I do think they have a shot to at least win one.
No, I mean, you mentioned Love's great stretch so far. It is 8 touchdowns, 0 picks in his last 3 games against good defenses like the Lions, the Chiefs, who each have 3 touchdowns in each game versus them. The last 3 games for the Packers in general, 23, 29, 20 points scored, 20, 22, and 19 points against. So both sides of the ball stepping up. The emergence of Christian Watson, especially in the last 2 weeks, has helped that offense really going off the last 2 weeks. Love's probably favorite target, and they have an easy schedule: Giants, Bucks, Panthers the next 3 weeks.
It was an up-and-down performance, but the Dallas Cowboys defeated the Seattle Seahawks 41-35 in an offensive shootout. Both teams' offenses had an easy time marching down the field, while the defenses struggled to keep the other team from responding to a score, as this was the 5th game in NFL history to not record a punt. However, the Cowboys' defense stepped up when it mattered most, stopping the Seahawks on 4th down twice late in the 4th quarter. Does a game like this show that the Cowboys are on the right path again?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're definitely on the right path at this point. I mean, this, I would say, their first statement win of the season. Their losses had come versus the teams that they're going to play against in the playoffs. Their wins had come against some of those lesser teams with losing records this year. But it's a good time, especially with the Eagles, Bills, Dolphins, Lions coming up. A very, very tough stretch of games. Time to get hot. They're on a 4-game win streak with this win, and they're now 6-0 at home. So not only is AT&T Stadium becoming a stronghold for them, they're playing really good ball as well. Dak getting himself into the MVP race is huge. He's playing super well. 299 passing yards, 3 touchdowns in this game. He is going off, and it's going to help the Cowboys go into the stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this offense right now, I think you could say they carried this game because the defense just did not look like how they have in the past. And as you said it, they've been playing some inferior opponents. So they played an offense that can fire on all cylinders, that has a lot of weapons, and DK Metcalf absolutely torched them. So it will be really interesting to see how this team responds going forward. As you said, they have the Eagles. It's going to be weird to see whether or not the offense and the defense can sync up, or it's going to switch, because that's usually how it happens with the Cowboys. So it's just going to be a little bit of an experiment to see how this stretch goes.
Despite losing the number 4 overall draft pick, rookie quarterback Anthony Richardson for the season, just 4 games in, the Indianapolis Colts didn't give up fight. Now, with Gardner Minshew under center, the Colts have won 4 straight games after their 31-28 win in overtime against the Titans yesterday, and are 7-5 and are squarely in the AFC playoff picture. Ben, with games against the Bengals, Steelers, Falcons, Raiders, and Texans left, what is their ceiling?
Ultimately, I think that this Colts team ceiling is a 10-7 finish. I think that in this final stretch, they can end up going maybe at best 3-2, and they'll finish 10-7. The Steelers and the Texans will give them a little bit of trouble because the Steelers defense has been absolutely, been one of the biggest forces in the league. Really put the Steelers exactly where they are. And the Texans, I mean, their offense, I know now they're missing Tank Dell, but still, I mean, with C.J. Stroud at the helm, they've looked so much better than they have in the past. So it's going to be interesting to see if this Colts team can sneak in. It's very close. The Texans are right now, they're tied. These teams are tied. It's going to be really interesting to see how the rest of the AFC shakes out as the season progresses.
I think I'm a little higher on the Colts than you are, because I think they can go 5-0 and finish at 12-7 or 12-5 down this stretch. I mean, these are all pretty winnable games. The Steelers, you mentioned, being the toughest on the stretch, but their offense at times looks shaky, and the Colts offense has definitely had games where they look really, really good. The loss of Jonathan Taylor, again, is going to hurt, but Zach Moss in his absence has stepped up. We've seen it already this season. And the division is in reach I think the division is in reach for them. The Jags have the Browns and Ravens, which are 2 games that they could easily lose. So I think the Colts could potentially win this division at 12-5 this year, though I don't necessarily think that will happen.
I think it'll be really interesting to see as the season goes along. But we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll get into the college football playoff, the NBA, and the NHL here on WTOP 10.
Say, President Stanley, whenever there's bad weather, who would you turn to?
I'd turn to Storm Team 10.
No,
right
but you've
here.
got to say it like this. Storm Team 10. Say it with me. Storm Team 10.
Roll it.
Jill
Should
told
we
me it
tell
was
him?
Kitty from Glee. Yeah, what is it?
Al Roker.
Welcome back to Stick to Sports. The SEC brought the heat again this year as 2 Titans clashed again in the SEC championship. This year it was the Alabama Crimson Tide taking down the reigning college football champions, the Georgia Bulldogs. Although the Bulldogs got off to a hot start, that quickly fizzled out as Alabama took the lead in the second quarter and never looked back. Now, they're locked into the college football playoff and slated to face #1 ranked Michigan. Brian, another battle between two of the best in the country. Who will come out on top and reach the national championship game?
Look, this SEC championship game was really, really good. Alabama got hot when it mattered this year, and they beat a Georgia team. The hurting Brock Bowers, Ladd McConkey, their offense a little slow because of the injuries to them, but they got hot when it mattered. They did what they needed to do. They got themselves in the playoffs, and I think they're going to, unfortunately, though, lose to Michigan.
Yeah, ultimately, I mean, this game, I mean, this Alabama team, once again proving that they're one of the premier teams to beat in college football. But, I mean, Michigan's been dominant all year. And between Jalen Milroe and J.J. McCarthy, I prefer J.J. McCarthy because of his game manager role. And I don't think Jalen Milroe does quite enough to really prove to me that he can win in a big game, especially, well, against Georgia he was able to, but I think Michigan's just a different beast.
In what is essentially the final year of the Pac-12, the championship game was a win-and-you're-in scenario for both Oregon and Washington. It was a back-and-forth game with both teams leading at points, but in the end, Washington won and punched their ticket to the college football playoff and will face the off against Texas. Ben, what are your thoughts on the Pac-12 championship game in which those teams is heading to the national championship?
You know, the Pac-12 championship game was exactly what was promised from back in early in the season when these two teams faced. Once again, very close matchup. But I've been riding with Washington all season pretty much, and they've been written off a lot, and people thought, oh, with a stretch of games where their offensive output was very low, they wouldn't be able to beat Oregon, but they did. And I think that, again, they're going to be able to do that against Texas, and I think Dylan Johnson is going to be a huge X factor in this game like he was in the Pac-12 championship.
No, you mentioned Dylan Johnson. I think he played really well, especially if you're playing through an injury. They were saying on the broadcast that like when play wasn't happening, he was limping. So great for him to play a huge part of their offense to play through the injury. I do think they're going to lose to Texas, though. Texas is just a better all-around team, especially Washington defense, kind of suspect at times. But I think Michigan beats Texas in that national championship game. I think that'd be a really good national championship, though, Michigan versus Texas. Yeah,
there are a lot of good options here because you never know who's going to win, but a lot of good options for these last four teams. The Sacramento Kings defeated the Denver Nuggets 123-117 to improve their record to 11-7. A huge 26-point, 16-assist performance from De'Aaron Fox spearheaded the win for the Kings. Malik Monk also had an impressive 26-point night, recording 4 assists and 3 rebounds. What are your thoughts on this win, Brian?
This is a really good win for the Kings. Definitely with De'Aaron Fox coming back after the injury a couple weeks ago. They're a really good overall team. They've done an excellent job building a team around De'Aaron Fox. Obviously, you mentioned the 26-point, 16-assist performance. He is both an excellent scorer and can pass the ball really well. They couldn't stop Jokic, but they did enough against everybody else. And they held them from 3 at 24%. So they did enough, and it was a great win, though the Nuggets aren't necessarily what they were last year.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. This Nuggets team isn't as good as they were last year. However, they are still the reigning champions. And right now, the Kings currently at the top of a strong Pacific division. I wouldn't write out. Every team's around 500 at least. So it's a very difficult division, and they're at the top of it right now. And they've had impressive wins against the Thunder, the Mavericks, the Timberwolves, and the Lakers twice. So they've looked really good to start the season. I think that will continue as the season progresses.
No, I agree. The Los Angeles Clippers didn't lead the entire game against the Golden State Warriors, but with 9 seconds left, Paul George hit the go-ahead three-pointer to put them up 113-112, capping off a 25-point night for the forward. Kawhi Leonard and James Harden each went over 20 as the Clips got to one game under 500 at 9-10. Ben, so far this season, this big three isn't as spectacular as some may have thought it could be. Can they turn it around and grab a top seed?
It's still super early, and they haven't really quite clicked yet. But it seems like they're starting to get there, and I think that's what's super important. Just take a little bit of time. Got to get used to each other's play style. I mean, I know Russell Westbrook and James Harden played together, but that was a long time ago. And then, so they got to get used to each other. Everybody got to get used to each other again. But what they really need is lineup consistency, whether it's health or general court presence. They just need to stay on the court, and they'll get to where they want to be.
Look, unfortunately, I don't know if the Clippers can get back this year. This big three is good, but the team around them isn't good. There's not enough coming off the bench. They're too reliant on this big three. If they can make an addition, maybe that will change.
The Buffalo Sabres have lost 3 straight games after a close 2-1 loss to the Nashville Predators. The skid lands them in 7th place in the Atlantic Division with a 10-13-2 record. What is going wrong for the Sabres team, Brian?
It's kind of a lot of things. The offense just isn't clicking right now. They're bottom 10 in goals per game scored right now. They're bottom 10 in power play percentage and bottom half in shot percentage. So obviously things on offense just not going well. The good thing, 13th in the league in penalty kill, but they're bottom 10 in goalkeepers' goals against average. So it's just a lot of things going wrong for this team all at once. They need to figure this out if they want to turn anything around.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you talked about the team as a whole, but some specifically from players just in that I've noticed. Rasmus Dahlin, he just inked a huge 8-year, $88 million deal. He has a -7 plus minus right now. Tage Thompson, the guy that the wonder kid for the Sabres, only has 12 points, 6 goals, 6 assists, -5 plus minus. And Devin Levi, the goalie prospect that looked good last season, he was moved to the AHL because of struggles early in the season. Nothing going right for the Sabres right now.
Even though the Winnipeg Jets have only won one of their last 4 games, they still sit third in the Central Division. They are coming off a 3-1 victory over the Blackhawks with netminder Connor Hellebuck recording 21 saves. Ben, the Jets made the playoffs last year with a loss to the eventual champion Golden Knights in 5 games. Can they get back there this year?
I think they can because, as you said, they're towards the top of their own division. They're top 6 in the Western Conference, and they trailed the Colorado Avalanche only by 4 points. But they only have a couple standout wins, only over the Red Wings and over the Lightning. That's it. They only have wins against some kind of mediocre to subpar teams so far this season, and that's not what's going to get you to the playoffs. That's not what's going to help you have success in the playoffs. So in order to really prove to me, prove to fans that they're going to, surpass last season, they need some eye-popping wins.
No, I agree. I think also, though, you mentioned the Avalanche, they have them twice in the next 6 games. They're coming to a really tough stretch of games. The Kings are also in that stretch. And Connor Hellebuck's playing really well, keeping them in games, but there's been trade rumors surrounding on him all season, coming into the season. So if they lose him, this team is going to fall hard. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Ben and I will do some MLB free agency predictions here on WTOP 10.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Shine on that black.
Look at the bling. Do we got a diamond tester on?
Yeah, that's getting bad. Yep. 10 out of 10 recommend on Yelp.
We scored going to the playoffs.
I can't believe I missed that.
Every time I'm buzzed, I spend too much time on my phone.
What? I should take your phone away.
No. I'll call for a ride. Hey, why does my face look like that?
I'm playing with these new face filters.
Okay, you know what?
Yep, that's mine.
I'm gonna need that back.
No.
Kevin!
Welcome back to Stick to Sports. It's time to try and predict the future with some MLB free agency predictions. First, we will start with this offseason's class of pitchers, as it's still very strong even after signing to Sonny Gray with the Cardinals and Aaron Nola returning to the Phillies. Brian, which pitching domino will fall next?
Well, I've heard rumors that Shohei Ohtani might be gone this week. My best fit for him, the Dodgers. I think they have the money, they have the means, and they need pitching, and hitting would fit perfectly into that lineup.
You know, I agree with you that he's going to stay on the West Coast, but I'm going to go with their rivals, the San Francisco Giants. I think for all the same reasons, needing that pitching, needing that big power bat, that lefty bat with the short wall, with the McCovey Cove over there. Certainly a lot of balls will fly out in San Francisco. But I also, for Yoshinobu Yamamoto, I think the Yankees ultimately will end up getting him. I think he fills yet another starting pitching need. The starting pitching was not great this past season, so I think he just fits right in at the top of the rotation with Garrett Cole.
For Yamamoto, I'm going with rival Boston Red Sox. His best friend Masaki Yoshida plays there. I think it'd be a perfect fit. Play with his best friend. Come to Boston where there's a history of Japanese pitchers. I think it'd be a perfect fit. Blake Snell, I think he's going to the Mariners. He's publicly said he wants to go to his home team, Mariners. I think it's where he's going to end up no matter what.
I think he stays with the Padres, if I'm being honest. I think they re-sign him and he stays as part of that rotation. But now for Josh Hader, I think he moves over to the Rangers. They need some bullpen help, and I think he fits that bill.
No, I agree. Josh Hader to the Rangers as well. The infield is probably the weakest position this offseason, with the biggest name free agent being Matt Chapman on it, and a big fall off in star power from there. Ben, where do you think these top guys are going?
I think Matt Chapman will ultimately stay with the Blue Jays this offseason. I think it just makes sense. He was great to start the season, then he kind of fell off. I think he'll stay with the Blue Jays, stay in that lineup, and I don't see any reason why he would sign anywhere else.
I actually think he's going to head to your New York Yankees. I think they need a staple at the hot corner, needed a guy there for a few years, and finally get that guy locked down. Rhys Hoskins, I like him as a Mariner. I think they need a first baseman, they need a power bat in the lineup, especially after trading away Eugenio Suarez. I think he'd be a perfect guy to fill in that middle lineup, and Teoscar Hernandez probably leaving as well.
Interesting. I feel like Rhys Hoskins will sign with the Las Vegas Athletics. I think after an injury as severe as the one he suffered, I think he'll need a one-year prove-it deal, and I think the A's will give him that.
As far as Whit Merrifield goes, I think it's the Red Sox. They just need a second baseman. He'd be a good one-year stopgap for they have a lot of young guys filling in those middle infield positions.
I think Whit Merrifield maybe goes to the Marlins. I like him next to Luis Arraez, kind of those two, not power bats, but more average and, get more guys on base to score more runs.
As far as Jeimer Candelario goes, a guy who's average third baseman, I think the Blue Jays take him, replace Matt Chapman.
And I think he stays with the Cubs. I don't see any reason why he leaves them after being traded there last season. The outfield group has a bunch of heavy hitters that can bolster any lineup. One that stands out to me is Jung-Hoo Lee out of the KBO, who was posted earlier today. Brian, what teams need these outfielders?
We're going to start with Cody Bellinger, the biggest name out there, the biggest position player out there. And I think the Yankees could use him. Huge outfield bat for them would fit perfectly in that stadium.
I think Cody Bellinger, honestly, I think he stays with the Cubs as well, like Candelario. I just think he got comfortable there, and I don't see any reason why he would just move after one season away from a place where he kind of attracted all the fans. Everybody loves him there because of how great he was. Almost brought him to the playoffs this season. I think he stays there after this offseason.
With Lourdes Gurriel, I think the D-backs bring him back. I don't see why they would give up a staple in their lineup after going to the World Series. I think that wouldn't make a lot of sense.
I completely agree with you on this one. I think Arizona keeps Lourdes Gurriel in their outfield next season.
As far as Jung-Hoo Lee, the KBO former MVP, I like him as a Giant. I think with the Asian connection in San Francisco, it would be a huge help, especially help defensively in their outfield.
I think Jung-Hoo Lee might fit the bill for the Yankees. I know a lot of trade talks have been with Juan Soto, but I don't think that's the right move for them because trading all those prospect pieces will ultimately hurt them in the long run. I think signing the international Jung-Hoo Lee might actually be the better pick, especially because he's lefty and he's more average.
For Teoscar Hernandez, I like him as a Met. I think Citi Field would play really well. They need the power bat. Need to kind of come back from this year. He wouldn't be the big contract, but he would be a nice, good signing to fit into that outfield, especially defensively as well.
I think Teoscar Hernandez might join Randy Arozarena in Tampa Bay and kind of bolster that outfield and really bring a lot more power to that lineup.
As far as Julio Soler, I think the Marlins bring him back, big staple in that lineup.
I thought about that, but I feel like he might actually go to Detroit. I think that's just one of those random signings that you see throughout the offseason. While I believe he might stay in Miami, I think Detroit is right there at second. We're going to take a quick break here on Stick to Sports, and when we come back, Brian and I will head into extra innings. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Stick to Sports on WTOP 10.
Welcome back to Major Discussion.
Did you know dragging chains can spark a wildfire?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Hey there, I'm Al Roker, class of 76. Yes, way back in 76. Back when the earth was cooling. You're watching WTOP.
Welcome back to Stick to Sports. Now let's get ready for another edition of Extra Innings. First things first, Brian, let's take a look at those standings from last week. I mean, I don't know how I've done, so I'm really excited to see these standings. Let's see.
It was you this week.
Yes.
You won.
Let's go.
By a big time.
I tied Brooks. I'm not in last anymore. Oh, I guess we're tied for last, but
yeah.
Either way, I'm glad that I was able to have a positive week.
You finally had your 1 week.
Finally. Hopefully this week is better. Hopefully this week is even better. But we have 5 more this week. So first off, 49ers versus Seahawks. The 49ers are favored at minus 10.5. Who do you got, Brian?
Oh, that's a really big line, but coming off a huge win over the Eagles, I'm going to take the Niners in this one. I think they have it. I think their offense is back and clicking, and it's just their week to do it. And quickly, Alex, he's going with the Niners as well.
He's going with the Niners?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to have to agree with both of you. I think the Niners definitely the more superior team in this matchup, especially after the loss last week the Seahawks took. I think the 49ers just the better team. Now, the Chiefs versus the Bills, another big matchup this week. The Chiefs minus 2.5. Brian, who do you got?
It's a really close line, surprisingly to me. I think the Chiefs 2.5 is an absolute lock. I know they're coming off the loss, but I just like that team so much more than I like the Bills this year.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I agree. The Chiefs, they've been better than the Bills this season. The Bills have been just really disappointing, and I think that continues.
And as far as Alex goes, he's taking the Bills. So
all right, so it's us versus him.
Yes.
Let's go. Next, we have the Cowboys versus the Eagles. We know Brooks is taking the Eagles.
Yep.
So the Cowboys are minus 3.5. I'm taking the Cowboys.
I'll be the tiebreaker. Oh, gosh, this was really close, and I think it's the Cowboys. They're coming up, that huge win. Their offense is clicking 4 straight games as Alex is booing in my ear, and I don't know, the Eagles coming off the loss, it's just not their time anymore, I think. I think it's the Cowboys.
It's really interesting. It's going to be a really scary game. I know I'm going to be trembling the entire time because because who knows what's going to happen. You never know. I don't like being favored in this one. But next we're going to go with the Bucks at minus 4.5 versus the Knicks in the in-season tournament. This is the quarterfinals now. Who do you got, Brian?
Give me the Bucks. They're just a better team, I think. I know Giannis and Lillard haven't super clicked yet, but I do like the Bucks in this one. A lot of Knicks fans in the back says I hear we're getting booed. I'm getting booed again on this one. And Brooks also going with the Bucks, so boo Brooks. Boo him too.
Well, guess what, guys? I'm going with the New York Knicks.
Yeah, of course you are.
They are going to beat the Bucks. I believe that it's going to be a difficult one. The Bucks are a really good team, but you got to go with the Knicks, the underdog. And finally, on our ledger for tonight, we have the Lakers at minus 1.5 versus the Suns, also in the in-season tournament. Brian, who do you got?
I think I'm going all favorites because I am taking the Lakers once again. I like that team a little more. They're the home team. Suns just haven't super clicked quite yet. I don't think they're there yet, and I think the Lakers team with LeBron is just going to do it, especially in a kind of a big moment kind of thing. Brooks going with the Lakers as well.
Well, I'm going against you guys again. I'm going with the Suns. I think the Devin Booker, Kevin Durant duo is starting to get their rhythm a little bit. We've seen really good things from Kevin Durant this season. He's been fantastic, averaging 31 points per game. I mean, on 50% shooting as well. Absolutely out of his mind so far this season. So I feel like he could even do it himself. But, of course, you need a supporting cast around you. So I'm going to take the Suns in this one, and I'm going 5-0 this week. I'm very excited to go 5-0 this week.
Yeah, I think I'm five games up on you, so I don't think I can lose at all because I know we chose at least one the same. So I think I officially won this semester, which is I'm happy about.
Congrats, Brian. But that's all the time we have on this episode of Stick to Sports. Be sure to tune in next week for the final episode of the semester right here on WTOP 10.